Me and Baby Max, he from 7-4, I'm from Devil Lanes. You know what I'm saying? Two rivals, whatever.
As two men who came to the smoke and convenience store at around 10 last night were shot and killed by two suspects who walked up and started firing. They describe the shooters as two men in their 20s and say they fired repeatedly before taking off in a vehicle. They say it's not known if anything was stolen yet or if this could be gang-related.
Rap News Street Politics, the best hood channel on YouTube. We had to redo this video because YouTube was not going for it. We had some murder scenes that we put in the last edits that they kept knocking us on, but we released the uncut version to all the members. So if y'all want to see that uncut version of the murder scenes, y'all make sure y'all sign up for that membership. And the members is going crazy. We got almost 50 members right now. So y'all make sure y'all go join that membership. Shout out to all the new and old members that's been rocking with us. We gonna for sure keep putting new content out for the members, man. But we had to remix the video and we dropping it again. Rap News Street Politics, and we back again on the west side of South LA. About to go through two hoods that's known to get it popping down Fig, man. We got the Denver Lane Gangsta Bloods and all the Hoover criminals. The Denver Lanes and the Hoovers been a hot topic lately, especially with the emergence of Baby B Brazy from 109 Denver Lane. But in this video, we finna dive from Florence to 120th, in between Vermont and the 110, as well as them Hoovers that's in between Normandy and Vermont as well. So of course, we covering all aspects of the Denver Lanes, but we not gonna touch on the 50s when we get to the Hoovers. We gonna be talking about the 7-4s, the 9 deuces, the 9-4s, and the 107s. Now, you know, this is one of the main beefs with the Denver Lanes. We already know the Hoovers got a grip of different wars that's actively going on right now, but they got a special situation that goes on with Denver Lane, being that they share Fig together, and Denver Lanes being the only blood hood off of Fig. Now, with that being said, we see Denver Lane is going from 105th all the way to about 120th Street between Vermont and the 110. 104th Street is what's going to separate their hood from the 107s. But really, they controlling a lot of territory in this area known as Vermont Vista in South LA. They got a lot of cliques in this section, as well as a lot of notable members coming out of DLB. With the cliques, we already know one of the main ones that we've always heard about with Denver Lane is 109th Street and Fig. They also got 108th, 106th, 111th, and 115th. But they also do bleed down past the 105 to 120th, where they border in the Raymonds and getting into that action with the 11-8 and the Athens Parks on 120th. Now, they also known as Figaro Rider Gang, FRG. You know, like I said with B Brazy, that's somebody that a lot of people been paying attention to lately. You see that FRG tatted on his chest. That's the Figaro Rider Gang. But for the most part, they pretty much surrounded by their enemies other than Athens Park, which is going to be diagonal from them going southeast across the 110. But just across the 110, directly east from their hood, they got the 11 Deuce Broadway Gangsters that link with them through Imperial 108th and 111th. And they also got 11-8 East Coast Block Crip. That's going to be to the east of them as well. Both of them hoods they both beef with. Now, to the south of them past 120th, you got them 120 Raymonds that's always been known to beef with Denver Lanes. And of course, to the west of them, they got the 107 Hoovers, the 11 Deuce Hoovers, and they got Pimptown right there as well, which is gonna be a Block Crip hood.
We ain't for sale, it ain't gonna never be. They gave me Devil Lane life, so I ain't never leave. Can't stop, won't stop, I'ma forever bleed. I rep the second for homies, it's resting heavily. Niggas just politicking what they selling, trying to feed their belly. Asking you about their goofy shit, but you can't tell him shit other than, you know, I keep it G, and that shit ain't going on Fig Street, blood, this B ain't it's only one.
Now, the thing is with Denver Lane, we heard a lot about them being cool with the neighborhoods. They don't have any beef with hoods like the 60s and them other neighborhood sets going northwest from their hood. But like I said, they are beefing with the 11-8 East Coast right here and the Pimptown block. And Pimptown is going to be tight with Blue Flame Gang, the UGs, Tunchi them. So, you know, they do have some situations that go on this side of town. So we can't say they just fully allied with the NAC car. And like I said, to the north of them, going past 104th Street and Century, you got 107 and you got the 924 in the Hoovers as well. So like I said, they got a lot of enemies around here, and the hood that they've been historically allied with that we've seen has helped them put in work against the Hoovers is the Crenshaw Mafia Gangsta Bloods. whose main set is gonna be over here by 104th and Crenshaw, in between Century and 108th. And they also been known to beef it with other blood hoods as well, like the Swans, the Inglewood families, and they beefed it with Sureño Barrios as well, like 18th Street and South Los. So the Denver Lanes, man, a storied hood with a lot of notable members, like Big B Brazy, Lil Laniac, of course now Baby B Brazy, and in that Mafia Lane heyday, dudes like Lil Hawk from Crenshaw Mafia still coincides with all the members as well from Denver Lanes. But the Hoover sets that they get most active with, like I said, is gonna be the 9 deuces, the 9 foes, the 107s, and 11 deuces. But we also see extreme action between the 8 trays and the 7 foes as well, looking to get popping with the Denver Lanes.
I put that nigga in the pack and we go stuff him in the leaf. And this is not a diss to the niggas who wanna beef. I'm posted in the field, nigga 7 days a week. Show you how to get it, nigga know we play for keeps. Gang slide, nigga, I'm from ACG. 2-finger thumb tuck, nigga fuck peace. Niggas ain't tripping, gas tank on E. You niggas crashing out, I'm somewhere up on the beach.
Now the 107 Hoovers of Salos is gonna go from Century to about 110 between Normandy and Vermont, and some of their hood does bleed over to Hoover Street between 104th and Century. Now the 11 Deuce Hoovers, they a smaller ACG set in between 110th and Imperial and Vermont Normandy. But despite their size, they have been known to get cracking with all their enemies in this section. But you know, the most notable name I think is known to the internet from the 107s is gonna be Jap 5. This is his section right here. Now across Century, we got the 924. Now the 9 deuces is gonna go from Century all the way up to Manchester between Vermont and the 110 freeway. We see a lot of action that goes on between 9 deuce and 9 foe versus Denver Lane. And this is also gonna be one of the biggest Hoover sets in terms of membership and territory right here in Vermont Vista. And the 9 foes is gonna be on the other side of the 110, pressed up against the 110 in Main Street, still a West Side hood, and it's known as the Middies, the Midwest. And you know, in this 9 deuce Hoover section, we done seen 2 different high-profile murder scenes, one on Manchester and Fig last year between Manchester and 87. We seen 2 dudes get killed inside of the smoke shop 6 months ago. Now, you know, that was something that the city was really going up about, where it was a dude named Davion Foster, who was 39, ended up losing his life with another young man that was reported to be a 28-year-old man. Now, I believe that other man was Richard Whitfield, but no reports have really confirmed the name of that other victim in that situation. But again, that's right on 87th and Fig between Manchester and 87. And then in December 2023 on Manchester and Hoover, really the next main street over going north to south, we seen 2 dudes get cracking at the Sinclair gas station right on the corner of Manchester and Hoover. Now that's right in the middle between A-Tray and 9 Deuce Hoover hood, but that's when we seen Fat Boy jump out like Max Payne with 2 sticks, and sadly he ended up taking the life of somebody named Marquette Scott, and another dude jumped out the other side of the Jeep and popped somebody else in front of the gas station. So things got real nasty with them homicides on Manchester lately, man. So it's been going up in this section. And across Manchester from both of these hoods, you got the 8 trays and the 7 foes going all the way from Manchester up to Florence, in between Vermont and the 110. Of course, the 8 trays going from 80th Street to Manchester, and the 7 foes going from 80th Street to Florence. But we all know all these Hoover hoods get along, they all rock with each other, and they all tight-knit because they have the most enemies in the city. They surrounded by them, but the key thing to the west of them, across Vermont, they do have some allies in the 8 Tray Gangstas. These 2 hoods have been known to keep it cool with each other. But the notable members that's coming out the 90s, you know, we know Pope, T-Blue, 9 Too Much, and Midwest Active. And you know, some notable guys is coming out of 8 Tray Hoover, Young Threat, Treyway. And then out of 7-4, you got T Super, who sadly lost his life, but he was coming up in the music game. You got Jay Heartless, and you got Milk 7-4 coming out of these 7-4 Hoovers. And this area between the 7-4s and the 8 Trays is going to be called Vermont Knolls. So everything between the Hoovers and the Denver Lanes is cracking between Vermont and the 110 freeway down Figueroa. Now, with that being said, this is a very dangerous area. Statistically, on average, a crime happens about every 22 seconds between Florence and the 105. And in these hoods alone, From Vermont to the 110 between Florence and 120th, just this year alone, we done seen 7 shootings. And in the last 6 months, we've seen 12. So this area is still cracking.
What's going on? Oh, blood, they baby Ray, Mad Max and all that. Yeah, long live Louis. Louisville continues. Yeah, yeah.
But to jump right into it, man, we got to touch on a time where it seemed like this war between the Denver Lanes and the Hoovers was at an all-time high in 2008. Now, at that time, by May of 2008, there was already 315 murders in the city. So everybody know that time period alone was not too far from the 90s. Them early 2000s, gangbanging was still at an all-time high, and it was extremely dangerous in this area. But at that time, between the Hoovers and the Denver Lanes, there was some members that was really getting active, starting with the 7-4.
Appreciate the value when you come from that. Streets full of dead niggas who ain't coming back. H.I.P. Lil Tweety ain't with none of that. Yelling out Hoover Horse got the dish back. Bang with the niggas who trying to plug some. On behalf of the gang, niggas that does some. Oh, God, let a nigga try me. You ain't gon' recognize the nigga by his ID.
Now, there was a string of back and forth murders that happened in May and early June over here by the Denver Lane hood. But we gonna start on June 6th and June 7th, 2008. Where on June 7th, a 20-year-old named Michael Smith, presumably from A-Tray Gangsta, was killed on 95th in Vermont, bordering the 9 Deuce Hoover and ETG hood. On June 6, 2008, a member from 5 Deuce Hoover named Stephen Mooten was killed on 90th in Budlong, where he stayed, which also borders A-Tray Gangsta and 9 Deuce Hoover hood. Now, it was said that the Denver Lanes was responsible for the murders on the A-Tray member and the Hoover member. And 2 dudes from 7-4 decided to take it upon themselves to even the score between the H Gang and DLB. So we got Kevin Maddox and Morgan Smith. Kevin Maddox, who was labeled as a leader of the 7-4s at the time, and Morgan Smith, who was labeled as a soldier of 7-4 at the time, was seemingly looking to retaliate from the murders of Michael Smith and Stephen Mooten. Now, the crazy thing is, before everything transpired with them, Kevin Maddox, the senior member of 7-4, was already under watch by the LAPD and the FBI due to an armored car robbery and 2 previous homicides that he allegedly participated in March of 2004. So 4 years later, the feds got a wiretap on Kevin Maddox's phone. So, you know, shit was really over before it started for these 2, but these dudes was reckless and extremely active and really not caring about that, as you gonna see. So along with them 2, there was a member named DeVale Galloway, who was a part of some of the 10,000 calls that ended up being tapped on Kevin Maddox's phone. He was from 9 Deuce Hoover, and it said that he had knew Maddox for a long time, but he had only known Smith for a couple of years. But nonetheless, after the murders of their homies, Maddox hits up Galloway and is asking for the stick. Now, Galloway was said to be the stick man, so they went to the right dude to try to pull this skit together, in which they stated they wanted to knock down 5 to 6 members of Denver Lane. Now, during this time, LAPD already had camera taps on a bunch of addresses associated with the Hoovers at this time. They had a camera on the spot off 75th and Fig, known as the Big House. That crib had a front and a back house, and Morgan Smith stayed in that back house. They also would regularly set up surveillance vehicles at another spot that the Hoovers would call Granny's house on 84th Street and at the Vagabond Inn Motel on Fig. And this is where Maddox was staying at the time, at that Vagabond Inn Motel. So, you know, everything was pretty sold up. They had Maddox in the bag, and all of his homies, they was just waiting for him to strike. So on June 7, 2008, Maddox called Galloway, asking him what kind of joints he got and how many bullets he got for each one. Galloway went through his inventory, told him what he had, and then Maddox get off the phone and called a dude named William Jackson from A-Tray Hoover. Told him he need a big thing, in which he told Maddox that he had a .22 rifle, a 30-30, and an M1. And this is when Maddox indicated, and I quote, that he was looking for a lot of band money. So the next day on June 8th, Galloway meets Maddox on 89th and gave him a 380 and a little rental whip, a F-150. And then he called Smith back, the dude from A-Tray, looking for some more bullets, in which Smith had said a member named Mad Trey and Trey Monk, both from A-Tray Hoover, was gonna have what Maddox was looking for. So after that, they secured a little Hyundai for Smith to take control of so they can have 2 whips on the slide. And Maddox made a comment to Smith saying they was just going to fuck with the D's, a derogatory term for the Denver Lane Bloods. And he went on to say, again, with this all being on wiretap, that he wanted to put on a strong demo for the Denver Lanes. Now, when he got back on the phone with Galloway, he said he wanted to hit 5 of them back to back. And he was about to go check out a studio that the Denver Lanes kicked it at off 110th and Fig. So about 8 o'clock that night, Smith calls Maddox saying he spotted some Denver Lanes in their hood. Where the keys at to this Hyundai? Maddox told Smith where the keys was, and he jumped in the Hyundai and they spin towards the Denver Lanes. Now, when they spent off, an undercover officer was following them. Mind you, this whole time his phone's tapped, so they knowing the whole play. But it said that Maddox noticed the car was following them by the time they got close to the Denver Lanes from Granny's house in the A-Trays, and he made a phone call to his female saying that he was being followed. Now, when the police heard this over the tap, they decided to abort the mission. So the police ended up turning down an alley and terminated the tail on Maddox. But it was already too late. While he going through the alley, Smith come up and start popping at the police car and forced the police to get on and call for backup. But at this time, Maddox and Smith had already spent out, aborted the mission to take out 5 Denver Lane members that night, and went back to their A-Tray Hoover hangout to revamp the plan. And this is what I mean by dudes was tripping. You see you getting followed. The police and Maddox had made eye contact, so Maddox knew it was the folks. Y'all pop at the folks, and y'all went back to the spot anyways. Knowing that you've been tailed from that spot, they went back to the spot and devised another plan. This time they laid low for about another week. And you know, Maddox being the big homie, he said he was proud of Smith. He was gonna give Smith a ban for his move on shooting the tail up. But on June 17th, these dudes decided to ditch the plan on the Denver Lanes and ended up pulling a skit on the Menlos. They busted at the Menlos, didn't kill nobody. Somebody did get hit. But after that, man, the police had to pull the plug on them dudes. They was getting too active. They ended up going down for 2 conspiracy charges and a trafficking of cocaine charge, man. And something that really sold their case up, DeVale Galloway from 9 Deuce Hoover ended up flipping, turning state's witness and deciphered 66 of the phone calls between the H gang to the jury to help send his co-defendants upstate. And he ended up taking a plea deal, going into witness protection, and got 10 years, and he chilling at home now. Now, I know where he at, but I ain't gonna say it on here. That's crazy. But Kevin Maddox, man, Kamala Harris was the attorney general on this case. He went down for 114 years plus 69 years, and he's currently in Delano with baby Brazy and Brazy co-defendant. We're gonna get to all of that. Morgan Smith went down for 130 years plus 69 years. He's currently in Pelican Bay, parole eligible in 2045. All because they was trying to get at the Denver Lanes, but them dudes was extremely turned up at this time.
I sense my best dick slanging here. Late night on Fig, still changing gears. Homies on ooze like troops, got things in here. We lit and gon' trip, it's gang in here, it's gang in here. Maintain slang cane for years. You could down that hoe, no hanging here. Yes, Figaro, but they still gang banging here. Don't get stripped or chipped, this gang in here.
But like I said, what really set this off was a lot going on around that May and June of 2008. So May 31st, 2008, a member from Denver Lanes named Derek Chambers, aka Baby Hangout, was killed on 108th between Denver and Fig. And it was believed to be by the Hoovers. Now this is in the middle of Denver Lane Hood, 108th Street. This is also where Baby B Brazy had a residency. Even though he's from 109, he lived on 108th. But 108 and 109, this is an active area over in this situation. So after Baby Hangout was killed, the Denver Lanes went up, man. And they bought out an old school connection between Crenshaw Mafia and the Denver Lanes. So on June 1st, at the candlelight, A day after Baby Hangout is killed, Eric Davon Bird, aka TikTok from Crenshaw Mafia, Rayvon Richardson, Chaos from Denver Lane, and Casey White Shoes Plord, Half Pint from Denver Lanes. It's all kicking it, and it said that TikTok from Crenshaw Mafia was going up. Now, it was some feet there by the name of Caitlin Weisberg, who was getting down on Fig for other Denver Lane members. Now, this is for sure gonna be common. We know both of these hoods is operating on Fig, so they have a lot of these little feet around these type of situations. But it said that Caitlin Weisberg overheard TikTok saying, "I'm gonna get somebody for you, Baby Hangout," and kind of being extra'd out, ready to go on a mission and avenge the death of Baby Hangout. So with that being said, all three of these dudes jump in the whip with Chaos from Denver Lane's driving, and they really just went down Century looking for somebody hanging at the bus stop. Now again, remember, Century and Vermont is the 107 hood bordering 9 Deuce Hoover hood. So they was pretty for sure that they was gonna find somebody from ACG hanging on Century over here by the bus stops. Now, it was said that they ran across a group, but by the time TikTok had jumped out, them dudes was gone. So they spent the block again and ended up coming up on 25-year-old Emmett Love, where seemingly it don't even look like TikTok banged on this dude. He just made an assumption and shot Emmett Love in the back of his head on Century and Vermont 107 territory. Now, when they left this murder, they tried to go back to the vigil, ended up running out of gas, which is crazy, but they ended up making it back anyway. And when they got back, that female that was with them, Weisberg, she overheard TikTok say, "I just killed a S word, this for the Hoovers," at a bus stop. He kissed the gun and said, "That was for you, Baby Hangout." Now, the crazy part is there was somebody there named Shady by the name of Brandon Scott, who seemingly is a G homie of Denver Lane. Shady is the one that gave the gun to Half Pint, which was said to be a big old Western revolver, end quote. And for a minute, these dudes got away with this situation. But the crazy part that we gonna see in every single case, some snitching went on, man. Half Pint from Denver Lane dropped out the hood in 2009, a year after this murder, and ended up snitching and telling the police that TikTok was the shooter. Mind you, Half Pint is the one that received the gun from Shady. That's some dirty work, man, cold work. And of course, just like that dude got away from 9 Deuce Hoover, Half Pint, who is a female from Denver Lane, also wanted to make a deal for her immunity, and she took a deal and was also placed in the witness protection program. Now, during the whole case proceedings, that female that was there, she also snitched, but she was under pressure because dudes from Denver Lane was said to have threatened her and beat on her for her testifying against TikTok and Chaos. But the folks couldn't corroborate the story and find out that it was true. So all of that really didn't matter against a member named Jerry Ying, the one who allegedly was pressing her and whooped on her. Now, the crazy thing is, Rayvon Richardson, the jury wasn't able to make a decision on this case, and we couldn't find him sitting down either. But TikTok, Eric Burr from CMG, he was convicted of first-degree murder, and he's also in Delano with Baby B Brazy, Maddox from 7-4, and Baby Brazy co-defendant. He's not eligible for parole until 2033. Now, mind you, like I said, 2008, it was extremely popping. So this is just in June. We see the Denver Lanes and the Hoovers going back and forth. But 6 months later, we back on 102nd between Denver and Fig, where we see Shady, that dude that slid Half Pint the pistol. He's hanging out with his homies, Big E-Mac, Big Bat Mike, Lil E-Mac, and Baby Rue. Now, it's December 7, 2008, and again, we on 102nd. This is Hoover Hood, borderline 9 Deuce 107. And a member named Infant Kool-Aid is staying over here with his girlfriend off 102nd. Now, Infant Kool-Aid, real name Dedrick Wallace, is clearly a notable figure from the Hoovers, because on this night, he had his mom pull up to his girl house, and when they stepped in the street, it said that a car had almost hit his girl, on some funny style shit though. Now, at that point, he asked his mom, Stephanie Smith, who was also in the car with Kool-Aid's sister, Shatira Simpson, and his stepsister, Brianna Chase Simpson. He asked his mom to take him to the store around the corner from 102nd Street. So after the store, he do his shit, he leave out, get back in the car. They say it's a car that's following them with their high beams on, and they following them real close. And they go back to bend on the 102nd, and when they stop, they pulled over to stop. Dedrick thought it was the police because of how bright the lights were, but it was actually Baby Rue and Tiny E-Mac from Denver Lane Gangsta Bloods. Now they the ones that had saw Kool-Aid jump out with his folks, and they saw him at the liquor store. And at that point, Big E-Mac, Big Batmite, and Shady was helping them devise a plan to do that work on Kool-Aid. Now Lil E-Mac, originally his name was YB, Lil B or Young Blood from Denver Lane. He had got his name changed or upgraded to Lil E-Mac. Clearly the E-Mac name held some weight, but the thing is, Lil E-Mac has some scrutiny on his name, and I think this is what went into him actually doing this work in this case. So when he was a juvenile, he had went down with Lil B Brazy, not Baby B Brazy, Lil B Brazy, and Tiny E-Mac, his lil homie. Now they went down on a bullshit like robbery case or something as juveniles, and it said that Lil E-Mac, he got arrested for the move, and while he was at the police station, he called Tiny E-Mac and told him to turn himself into the police. So he basically was trying to get Lil B Brazy and Tiny E-Mac to turn themselves in front of the police. You know, he caught a cold ass DP after this situation. So I think he was on the list of proving himself to them Denver Lanes and his older homie Big E-Mac, because Big E-Mac put the pistol in Lil E-Mac's hand. And this kind of wasn't sitting well with Baby Rue, real name Michael Lancaster. Now, with Lancaster, Big E-Mac is said to have changed his name too to KG, which stood for a derogatory term aimed at their enemies in the 11 Deuce Broadways. So one can only speculate that Michael Lancaster had upgraded his name from Baby Rue to KG because he had previously put in some work on the 11 Deuce Broadways. That's how it go. And seemingly so because he seemed to be begging for the pistol. He wanted to do the work. He asked Big E-Mac if he could carry out the move. But like I said, Big E-Mac wanted to test Lil E-Mac Gangsta. So when Lil E-Mac got the stick, he said he wanted Lady Menlo to drive. Now, I don't know who Lady Menlo is or anything about that situation, but it was a female that he said he wanted to drive. But Lancaster said, hell no, you gonna roll with me. So Lancaster and Lil E-Mac, real name Brian James, jumped back in that whip that's tailing Kool-Aid and his mama. So like I said, they thought it was the police when they pulled up. So Kool-Aid jump out and Lil E-Mac start busting the whole car up. Crazy enough, Kool-Aid ducks and his mom ends up getting hit in the neck, man. His sister Brianna ended up getting hit in the jaw and the right leg. Her mouth was shut for a month, man. She survived it. And his other sister, her mouth was wired for a month, man. And the left side of her body was left partially paralyzed for a few months. His other sister was hit 3 times in her arm, elbow, and thigh. And the bullet that hit her arm went through her stomach and pierced her lung, causing it to collapse. But she also survived. But sadly, man, rest in peace to Stephanie Smith, man, Kool-Aid's mom, who, like I said, tragically took a bullet to the neck because Lil E-Mac was trying to get to Kool-Aid and ended up missing Kool-Aid altogether. Now, the crazy part is, man, I'm gonna keep it real. We gotta go through the facts. Kool-Aid initially made statements to the folks. He gave a description of the car and said that he possibly heard somebody yell out lanes during this whole event. His 2 sisters were also able to give just a slight description while they was being hit in that car. And Kool-Aid also told detectives that this is the same car that had banged on him 2 days prior to this event. But when it all bubbled up, they said that Kool-Aid was not cooperative as a witness at trial. When they asked him what a snitch was, he replied, "I don't know, you tell me." He denied being a member of 9-4 Hoover and said he didn't know anything about the gang life. And he also denied signing a photographic lineup and writing on it. Crazy thing is, not too long after this, In 2010, he went to prison for robbing a pizza man on this same street on 102nd, man. But after this situation, man, Michael Lancaster ended up getting picked up. And like we said, he was the driver on this case. Now, they set him in a cell with a dude named Kerry Smith. Baby Bat Mike, like we said, Big Bat Mike was already at the scene with them, Timothy Booten. He was kicking it right before the situation happened. Now, Baby Bat Mike was in the county being investigated for another murder. He wasn't a confidential informant, but the folks had placed a recorder in the cell. And at this point, this is when Lancaster started to talk about the whole situation, about how it went down, about Lil E-Mac, and how he wanted to get cracking. Now, if you ask me, he did a little bit too much talking in that cell, man. That seems to be a common denominator with what be cracking off. And man, I would say 90% of these cases, especially when you a documented gang member, they get somebody from your hood or from another hood claiming to be from your hood, just trying to get your ass to talk in that cell, man. And a lot of times it be working. But they also spoke about a situation with Lil E-Mac, how he had Baby Hangout name tattooed on him and refused to whack the H out. So like I said, Lil E-Mac, man, I don't know what was going on with him, but he seemed to kind of be pressured into the situation and wanted to get in the good graces of his big homies, because he was out there with some of the real G homies out there. Like I said, with Shady, Big E-Mac, and Big Bat Mike, them dudes seem to be running the program over there. But nonetheless, man, Lil E-Mac get hit with a first-degree murder charge. He's currently in Calipatria, man, not eligible for parole till 2049. Michael Lancaster, aka Baby Rue or KG, he got hit with a second degree, and he's currently up in Sacramento doing 15 years to life and a consecutive sentence of life with a minimum term of 15 years for gang-related attempted premeditated murder. That's just some crazy shit, man, that's going on between the Denver Lanes and the Hoovers.
Fat woods full with dead ops. G-Face, the orange strings that make them stand out. They hang out, we gon' slide and make them bang out. Effing in it, 4-5s will make the dead out. I'm a fake West Kramer, pop up like fuck cameras. We gon' slide no drop-bys, we hop out and toe tag them. Bitch, not before the foe, but the H will really matter. Nigga, this not before the foe, but the H will really matter.
But after this situation, man, we gotta fast forward it to 2010. Mind you, that was December 2008. You see how cracking it was all 2008. So here we are at the top, really like 1 year completely past. January 15, 2010, we seen a member from Denver Lane named Deshaun Fairley, aka CK, who was 16 years old at the time, looking to do his work against the Hoovers. Now he went into 107 Hood. He was on 104th in Vermont scouting and ended up spotting 3 dudes, Eric Hopkins, Danny Greeter, and Robert McKenzie, who walked into that tobacco and market right on 104th in Vermont. He waited for them dudes to come out, and what he told the folks is Eric Hopkins flinched at him the wrong way, and he took Eric Hopkins' life. Eric Hopkins was 20 years old, got hit with a 38 on June 15, 2020, 107 Hoover Hood. Now, mind you, CK didn't bang on these dudes. He just fully assumed all of these dudes was from Hoover. I can't say they weren't. I don't know. But Eric Hopkins stayed on 118th and San Pedro in 11A East Coast Block Crib Hood, too. So, you know, who knows? We'll never know where Eric Hopkins was from. You know what I'm saying? Unless it's produced somewhere. But he said he felt like Danny Greeter, the dude that was with Hopkins, Slizzy Mac, who coincidentally stayed in the Swans at one point on the east side, banged on him a couple weeks prior to this event. But when he got in that room talking to detectives, man, he was all for it. This man said he was proud. He just looking to kill a member from Hoover. That's what he wanted to do. His whole mission, he wasn't tripping on none of it. But he didn't go down until he pulled up on a female from Hoover named Charlotte Jenkins, where he shot her 6 times, but she ended up surviving. Like I said, after that, they gaffled this dude up. He was 16 years old, and he fully admitted to everything in the interview and was proud of it and testified that it was a good thing to kill a Hoover and that he had shot at them on many different occasions. But crazy enough, man, after sitting down for a little bit, this dude seemingly changed his ways on that appeal paperwork, talking about he was intoxicated when he was making them confessions to the police, man. But he's currently in Salinas Valley not eligible for parole until 2034. But to really fast forward to what everybody talking about right now, you know we got to break down that B. Brazy case, how we do it on this channel, all the way.
Yeah. Me and Baby Max, he from 7-4. I'm from Lanes. You know what I'm saying? Two rivals, whatever. LA, everybody from LA knows what's up. Tap in the county. We was all in the county since 2000, what? Like 16, whatever, into 2016 to like 2020, you know what I'm saying? I'm talking about everybody gonna be in it on the hood. And I ain't just speaking bad about no Hoovers.
Now, Brazy, somebody that's really been popping lately, man. And when I first heard about his name, I'm like, man, to have that name, you have to be active. Nobody finna just give you that name, man. You outside if your name is underneath that B. Brazy moniker coming out of Denver Lane. And we clearly see that is the case, sadly though, because I'm sure by now everybody's heard about his situation. But let's break down the full details about what's cracking. Just the murders though. Now, Baby B. Brazy, real name DeAndre Lamar Bonner, and his co-defendant, Cedric Devontae Parker, aka Lil Kilo, both from Denver Lane. These dudes was also tripping. They was outside and they was looking to get cracking. And who they was looking to get cracking with is, I think, something that we got to pay attention to. I see a lot of people saying that he got cracking on the Hoovers. He got cracking on the Hoovers. Now, one confirmed case is for sure where he got cracking on the Hoovers. But the first murder that's documented that's cracking on B. Brazy right now is the murder of Nathaniel Ankar. Now, the key thing is, it said that he killed Ankar on 74th and San Pedro. That's the east side. That's borderline 7 Trey gangsters, right outside MSB hood, the Swans. So from optics, one is like, okay, what's up with that? But the key thing is, Nathaniel Ankar and Letitia Workman, his fiance, at one point they both stayed on 111 and Fifth. Now this is just 3 blocks up in this Denver Lane Gangsta Blood hood from where B. Brazy stayed on 108th and 2 blocks away from that main block of DLB at 109 hood. So the key thing is, I think it's safe to say that he already knew Nathaniel Ankar, him and Parker. They recognized the white Tahoe he was driving in when they was sliding down San Pedro. So when they slide, Nathaniel Ankar fiance Letitia Workman, she draw attention to the car B. Brazy was in and told Ankar, check these dudes out. It looked funny to her because them dudes had pulled up on the side of them in a bike lane at the red light. And I think Nathaniel knew what was going on because he didn't want to make eye contact with Brazy and Lil Kilo, but it said that he adjusted Workman's seat back to, get her out of the way. And when the light turned green, he tried to take off. And in the midst of that, one of them dudes coming out that car ended up throwing some shots his way, and one of them hit his forehead, killing him on 74th and San Pedro. Now that was February 21st, 2016. Now, like I said, him and Parker was getting cracking before that situation, but after this, it seemed like they took a break, decided to lay low after putting a bullet in somebody's forehead, and bubbled up on the scene again, March 18, 2016. This time they slide down Main Street, the 7600 block of South Main. This is bordering the east side. This is the split from the west to the east side, but again, they in MSB hood, the Swan hood. What was they doing over here in this Swan hood? We know that the Lanes and the Swans have beefed it before, but this ain't the Hoovers. Now, it's some details we may never know. I think a lot of people assumed that it was just some H-gang members, but Nathaniel could have been from 11 Deuce or 107 staying on 111. But right here, they run into Kaylin Warren, who was 21 years old at this time, who was riding his mini bike down Main Street. Now, the crazy part is this is right next to the police station, right by 77. This is around the corner from the folks. It said that Lil Kilo did the work and fired at Kaylin Warren out the car and killed him on the 7600 block of South Main. Now, Kaylin Warren, he had an address on 80th and Naomi. This is in the 7-6 East Coast Crip hood though. So where was Kaylin Warren from? Was he from the H-gang? Was he from 7-6? Or was he from the Swans? But that's neither here nor there. The main fact is Baby B Brazy and Lil Kilo was going wild. And it said a couple days after this, they flocked into somebody's motel room, got him for his shit, and then later that night ended up being the straw that broke the camel's back. So all together, man, on March 21st, 2016, we got B Brazy, Lil Kilo, and we got a member from Athens Park by the name of Wolf. Now, this is going to be crazy for a lot of y'all that watched our Athens Park against 11A East Coast situation and all the things that was going on between them Athens Park members on their cases, if you know what I'm saying. But at this time, they get Wolf, Andrew Betrez from APB to go on this next slide with them. So this one for sure in the middle of 9 Deuce Hoover Hood off 88th and Hoover. It said that they had the pistol that was used in the previous murders, and they had a new little thing, a little 40. Now, according to Betrez, B Brazy is the one that hopped out, yelled out lanes, and killed Stephen Holt Johnson, aka Stello, from Hoover, shooting him 5 times, again on 88th and Hoover, right in the middle of 9 Deuce Hood. And this was the case that got it all cracking. So after this, these dudes spin out and ended up in an apartment building on San Pedro. They slid to the east side. Now it said a couple hours after this move, the police was trying to make a routine stop of somebody who made a left turn without signaling. They didn't blurp them immediately. They let them roll and followed them into a parking lot of this apartment complex. Now, when they got up in this apartment complex, they see this Mercedes that was linked to the murder of Stello on 88. Now, at this time, nothing's transpired. Everybody jump out this Benz. And it said that another member, DeAndre Clayton, was involved in this too. But not much is really spoken on about dudes, so I can't say too much. But all these dudes end up jumping out. But it said that Lil Kilo froze up and ended up getting caught right there at the spot. So in the midst, man, this is the crazy part. In the midst of Lil Kilo going down, B Brazy get on, Andrew Betrez, Wolf from Athens Park, is said to have walked back up to the spot, to the police, shaking, scared, and sweating, talking about he was robbed of his vehicle 45 minutes ago by these dudes. That's the best he could come up with. And the crazy part, he was talking shit about Lil Kilo being shook. This nigga was shook. How you go back to the police? So I'm sure y'all know it's over with at that point. So they tag Wolf, they tag Kilo, and the next day they get Baby Brazy and find him with the photo. Now, per usual, they threw Wolf in there with a confidential informant in that tank, man. And this dude is said to have came off as a homie, as usual. And Wolf ended up talking and going through the whole situation. He's upset because he say Lil Kilo froze up. He feel like he was duped and was set up because really it was Baby Brazy. He didn't do nothing. He doing this whole spiel, and the dude tell him, if you felt this way about Brazy and Lil Kilo, you should have smoked them niggas. He agreed, like, man, I should have smoked them niggas. So Wolf is going through a whole level of emotions right now. He's on a whole nother planet. He's panicking, talking about he should have smoked his homies. He ain't do nothing. Niggas was scared and froze up, but he was scared and froze up. Wolf is not looking good, man, from Athens Park. I'm sure he's not from there anymore. And the crazy thing is, even though Lil Kilo from Devil Lane, he also stayed on the 120th in Wilmington, as well as 77th and Van Ness in that IMG and that Trey Gangsta Hood. So who knows how far he went back with Wolf, if he did go back with Wolf, you know what I'm saying? But the course ended up trying Brazy, Kilo, and Wolf all together. And this was problematic for Wolf because he wanted to be separated from all the bullshit Brazy and Lil Kilo was into. Like I said, them niggas had 2 bodies under their belt, shootouts, robberies, all kind of shit going on. Wolf didn't want no parts of that. But he came to court and made a statement talking about Brazy and Lil Kilo threatening his life if he didn't take the rap for this Stello murder. This nigga, me telling. And after that, the court decides to put restraints, physical waistband restraints during trial on Lil Kilo and B Brazy, which they was trying to fight by saying that makes them look disrespectful to the jury because they held down to the chair They can't stand when a jury come in. You know, you got to stand. All rise. They try to fight that little restraint, all because Wolf said that they was being threatened, along with Brazy's track record. It said of him fighting and producing weapons while he behind the walls. But him threatening Wolf pushed the judge over the edge, and they made Brazy and Lil Kilo wear the restraints at trial. But Wolf was successful in his plan. He was able to get another jury, but that jury still heard the facts of Brazy and them case, which he felt like sent them up the river because they had a misconception of him being involved with the other shit that Brazy and them was a part of. But even though Wolf's statements to that undercover agent that he was sitting with wasn't admissible in Brazy and Kilo jury, we all know them dudes fake. B. Brazy, DeAndre Bonner, 2 life sentences without the possibility of parole, as well as an indeterminate sentence of 227 years to life and a determinate sentence of 29 years and 8 months. He's currently in Delano with TikTok from CMG, Lil Kilo, and Maddox from 7-4 Hoover. And again, like I said, same goal for Lil Kilo, 2 life sentences without the possibility of parole, as well as an indeterminate sentence of 205 years to life and a determinate sentence of 14 years, 8 months. Now, things seemingly worked out for Betrez. He's in corporate substance abuse treatment facility right now because he was able to get his appeal kind of separated. He was really trying to get them gang enhancements taken off him by not trying to be associated with the war that was going on between Denver Lane and the Hoovers. And the gang expert testified that Athens Park wasn't in an active war with the Hoovers. So basically, he tried to paint it out that he had no horse in the race. Now, it's said that Athens Park does assist DLB in that war, and we know that the Hoovers could retaliate versus Athens Park, but it's not an active war between their hoods. But he was originally sentenced to 40 years of life, but he's eligible for parole in 2 years, August of 2027. Now, he probably not gonna make that, but that's a long shot from them life without paroles that Brazy and Lil Kilo got. But nonetheless, man, we still drop this for y'all because we know some of this information already out there. A couple channels that covered it. But man, niggas be humping the content, man, and they don't be doing it right. They be rushing 5-6 minute videos and just weird niggas, man. Rap news, street politics, we gonna drop this shit the right way, man, full-fledged. Y'all make sure y'all like, comment, subscribe, stay tapped in, hit us on Instagram. Shout out to the members. We out.